Hey, what's up, y'all? It's your girl, HonestlyNae, back with another episode of SexualiTea, and today I have with me...
Hi, my name is Hunter.
This is Hunter. Hunter works at Self-Serve Toys. It is... Shout out. It is a sex toy shop and resource center in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I actually just taught a class there. It was amazing. The store is awesome. My class was awesome. Hunter's awesome.
Why, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, we're very excited to have you, on board teaching, and it was a lovely time, and I hope that you all get to experience some of that loveliness.
Yes, I'm quite lovely. But I get a lot of questions in my inbox about people who are interested in sex toys, but maybe not confident enough, or maybe have a little bit of hesitation going into a sex toy store.
Absolutely.
So what is that experience like when you walk into self-serve?
Yeah, so when you walk into self-serve, it's going to be very different than a lot of your typical traditional sex toy shops. So we are health and education focused. We've been around for 11 years, and we've been voted the best sex shop in Albuquerque for every year we've been there, and that's because we really take specific time and effort to make sure that our space and environment is welcoming and inclusive to all people. I mean, you have to be over 18, so sorry, but we want to make sure that you walk in and you feel like, oh, I belong here. And that includes maybe people who are asexual. That includes LGBTQ folks, that includes trans folks, that includes people who, don't really want to have sex. That includes people who are assault survivors, right? All of these people, we hope that they can come into self-serve and they can see products and they can hear us talk about sexuality in a way that includes them. Because a lot of us have been left out, and a lot of us didn't get adequate sex education growing up. So that's the other thing that we really strive to do, is we're very education focused. We do classes and events pretty much every week. We have a lot of books that we offer. We have like 18 to 20 resource guides. So if you're like, but I want to know about, sex and disability or STI testing services, we have a resource guide for that.
Wow.
Yeah, so we just try and make sure that we're offering as much information as possible to everybody, and especially to people who have been left out of the sexuality conversation. If we were lucky enough to get sex ed growing up, most of us only got a very, very specific kind of sex ed that probably didn't actually meet the needs of what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and left you with a lot of negative feelings that might impact that fear, that hesitation people may have when they walk into a sex toy shop.
Well, and oftentimes I can kind of, I feel like I can kind of sense, like, when someone walks in and they're really hesitant, I'm going to give you your space, right? I'm not going to immediately come up to you and be like, hi, let me show you all these dildos.
Have you seen butt plugs?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I feel like that is my natural state, but I've learned that, like, not everybody responds well to that. So I have to dial it back a little bit. Or if you show up and you're like, I want to learn everything about butt plugs, like,
you're like, yes!
I'm here for you.
Let's go.
But we do really try and recognize that, individuals are going to have a different approach to sex and sexuality, and some people are going to feel really comfortable just blurting it out. Some people might want to take a little bit of time, and some people might just not want to share very much, and they just want to do their own thing. So ideally, if you walk into self-serve, someone will sort of greet you at the level you're coming in at, and then you can feel confident and comfortable to explore in the best way for you.
Yes. Okay, so if I'm a brand newbie, I've got some courage, I've walked into the sex toy shop, what is kind of like your go-to newbie take something away kind of thing?
So I typically ask people, what are your objectives? What are your goals?
Okay.
Because a lot of people come in and they say, like, tell me the best vibrator, or show me the best lube. And I'm like, well, there's not just one best, right? Because what I like might be completely different than from what you like. And, I might like something different on a Tuesday than on a Friday. So having us understand our own objectives and goals around our sexuality can be a really good starting step. And honestly, I think that is the work that takes a lifetime. It's not something that, like, you're like, great, figured it out, check. Now I never have to think about it again.
I know what I want, and I'm good.
Right, so each individual, experience in a sex shop might be different in that way. So I oftentimes ask people, what are your goals? What are you looking to do in your sex life? And then also, asking people, what kinds of genitals are you playing with, right? Because if that's a place where someone goes, if they say, like, I want to know more about sex involving genitals, because there's lots of other kinds of sex that doesn't involve genitals.
Very true.
But oftentimes people come in like, I want to experience orgasm on a regular basis, or I want to do anal play. So then we kind of talk about what kind of genitals you're playing with, but also for a lot of conversations, that's not even important. I oftentimes find that people go there faster than I lead them there. And that's fine. I'm down to, we can talk about genitals, we can play in that arena, but oftentimes it's sometimes taking a couple steps back and figuring out what else aside from genital stimulation is going on here. Maybe there's some stuff in your head and that you're having some shame about your body or some shame about your sexuality or your identity. And that could be a hang-up, right? So we kind of try and address it from a couple different angles, but also just giving people the permission to be exactly as they are. Our definition of sex positive at Self-Serve is that, as long as you're being safe and consensual with yourself and your partners, you can have as much or as little sex as you want. And additionally, that all bodies are good bodies, deserving of love exactly as they are. So those two things kind of help guide us when we're helping customers who come in with questions.
Nice. So one of the things that I really enjoyed while I was at Self-Serve is you're using like this really inclusive language of like whose genitals are you playing with? Like we're making toys for like parts, not necessarily for people.
Right.
And I think that that's really impactful for those of us who are living in the trans community.
Yes.
So can you talk about some of the things in specific that you have for trans-identified folks?
Absolutely. So we are expanding, we're always working on being better as far as the products that we can, have for trans folks. So we carry a lot of gender expression and affirmation gear. So we have Packers. Yes, I know. And
Packers are so cool.
They're so great. It's lovely to just look over and see a little shelf of dicks looking back and smiling at you.
And they're like not like intimidating or like scary, like in your face, like rawr. Kind of dicks. They're lovely, like put me in your pants.
Right. Well, and the one thing that's so funny to me about Packers, and it's great because I think sometimes people come in and they're looking for their first Packer and they're like, okay, I want the big one. And I'm like, okay, absolutely. Like, you get to decide. That's the best part about it, right? And then oftentimes they come back for the smaller one because they're like, okay, this was a big packer. And I like, sometimes you want to pack big, and that's great, and I support that. But then sometimes people get like a different everyday packer, right?
Yeah.
But because we have the demos out there, you can literally pick stuff up, you can squeeze them, you can ask about the material. And then we also recently started carrying breast forms. We have, we have both foam breast forms, and we have like gel, softer breast forms, so that are heavier as well. And we have a range of sizes. I think we only have about 4 or 5 sizes displayed, but we can order a whole bunch of different sizes, shapes, and colors. So we're excited to have breast forms now.
Yay!
Yeah.
So not every sex shop is Self-Serve toys, right?
Right. Correct. Accurate.
So if you could give like maybe 3 tips for like walking into your local sex shop, what would those be?
So I would say being brave is the big one. Sometimes it can be scary to go in, and if you don't necessarily know that you're going to be greeted with compassion or understanding, being brave is a big one, and knowing what you're looking for, because sometimes you can just go in and say, hey, I'm looking for a lube, right? And so especially if you're going into a shop that is not self-serve, look for like a glycerin-free lube, right? So what I would say is do some research on the internet first, and then go into your sex shop and say, hey, I'm looking for something that is specifically for external stimulation, or I'm looking for, an anal toy, but it needs to have a flared base. Because a lot of this information is out there on the internet, so even if the sex shop you're going to isn't as education focused as some others, there's still a lot of education you can get out there for free. And then when you go into your local sex shop, you then have some boundaries and some guidelines and some pointers and tips on where you want to be.
Come with notes.
Yes. Oh, I honestly, when people come in with a list, I'm like, I love you. Thank you.
I like the little like detective flip book. Like, okay, so glycerin free.
Yeah, exactly.
With a flare.
Yeah.
You have those things.
Right. Well, and sometimes, you'll go into a place and they'll just kind of look at you and be like, what? So the other thing you can do is look for brand names, right? So you can, like, if you're not in Albuquerque, you can always go onto our website, right? And we test and review all of our toys before we decide to sell them. Yeah. It's a really hard job. But literally, it's really hard.
It sounds like it takes so much energy and effort.
We joke we have bad sex, so you don't have to. And it's true, because there's a lot of really bad design in the sex toy industry. There's a lot of bad manufacturing. There's no regulation, which means that sex toys people can put whatever they want into sex toys, including plastic softeners that are illegal to use in baby and dog toys. So we're always looking to only sell body-safe, non-toxic, and phthalate-free toys. And then also we only carry glycerin-free lubes because glycerin can oftentimes feel very sticky and tacky, and it can exacerbate yeast infections. So even if the sex shop you're going to isn't a shop like Self-Serve, you can still go and you can still, use us, right? We're here for you. Yeah. So you can go and get that information and then get an idea of like brand names you might be looking for, or something with a specific function or a specific material, right? So you can doing a little bit of that research ahead of time will make your experience so much smoother.
Yay! Alrighty, so we're going to be brave and we're going to do research.
Yes.
Do you want more?
Yes, oh my gosh, so many things. The other thing I think, like, sometimes going with a friend is not a bad idea. I know that not everybody has a friend that they feel comfortable going with, but sometimes it can be really nice to just walk in and have somebody you can kind of talk to, and like, it's okay to laugh. Yeah. It's okay to not make any noise at all, right? It's really fine to just be where you're at. And so I think allowing yourself that time and space just to be like, okay, how am I feeling in the moment? But also sometimes bringing a friend and helping them help you be brave. I know that when I went and bought my first vibrator, it was with my college roommates, and it was fun. It was a whole thing. Like, we went and bought vibrators, we went and bought a porn, then we like went home and watched it, and I was like, this is weird, but cool, I love it, And I think that me and one of my roommates bought the same vibrators, then we like compared notes later, So you can do that.
Let's discuss.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like even since when I do like my sex toy reviews in general, it's very much like, I played with this, now you play with this, and people will be like, oh my god, or they'll be like, I didn't like it, and they'll be like, and I think that's really important when you go into a sex toy shop. If you do have a friend who has a certain kind of toy, or if you've seen my review and you've seen what I've had to say about a toy, everybody's body is different.
Yes.
So just because I really like this toy, I really like this lube, I really like X, Y, and Z, doesn't necessarily mean that you will too.
Right.
So it's really good to have kind of a jump off point of like, okay, I know that like this is kind of in the realm of things of people that I know have played with. But when you go in, if you see something that looks really cool, make sure that it is body safe, because like we said, not every sex toy store is self-serve, so not every sex toy store is taking into account of your safe body healthness.
Yep.
That's a word.
It is today.
Yep. But kind of having like an idea, but not sticking to it. Don't be so married to the idea that you can't grab something that tickles your fancy.
Yeah, and I think, recognizing that like pleasure is a birthright. You are allowed to experience pleasure, and pleasure is good for you, and pleasure is healthy, and so it's okay. And it's okay if that is a hard message to hold, right? Because for a lot of us, we're told that we shouldn't experience pleasure, or that we're bad if we experience pleasure, that we're a slut, or something.
That our bits are nasty, that our parts are gross,
right? Exactly.
Dirty.
So if you can just kind of hold that with you as you walk in, and like, maybe you have a mantra you need to tell yourself, like, pleasure is good, and I'm normal.
I deserve it.
I deserve it.
I am worthy.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. And I would say also just have an open mind, be open to learning something about yourself, right? And learning something like, I did not know I would be so excited about butt plugs. And yet here I am in front of the butt plugs, and I feel like being a kid in a candy shop.
Right?
Yeah.
And even if you're walking in through a section and something is not your jam, don't yuck other people's yums.
Yes.
It's okay if butt plugs aren't for you.
Yep.
It's okay. You don't have to play with butt plugs if you don't want to.
Exactly.
But don't shame the person who's in the aisle next to you that is like getting their whole life because they have discovered a new butt plug.
Exactly.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yay! Well, thank you so much, Hunter,
You're
for
welcome.
coming. Where can we find you on the internet?
So you can find me, selfservetoys.com is a good place to find me, but if you want to follow my individual work, Hunter Gather O'Reilly on both Facebook and Instagram. And then I do have a website too. Look at that. My website is outaboutsex.com. I do all sorts of teaching gigs. I teach classes. I come to universities. I love doing medical provider training. So if you are a healthcare provider and you want to be more sex positive and you want to be better able to support your patients, I would love to help do a training. And that's one of the places that I really, really enjoy. So there's lots of things that I do, but most of them I talk about on my social media. So that's a good place to find me.
Yay! So make sure you go get some information and some knowledge from Hunter. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. You can find all the ways to contact me down below. If you have any questions for Hunter, if you have any questions about being a sex toy store, if you have any questions about any of the toys that I have, am going to review, please leave those down below, and I will check y'all later. Bye.
Bye.